Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. This is your ultimate Premier League team of the season so far. I've seen some absolutely rubbish takes on this, and I don't normally say this, but I actually think this is the ultimate best Premier League team of the season so far. That's why I've called it the ultimate best Premier League team of the season so far, because it is. I think some people, obviously it's always about perception. There will be some people who disagree with mine, but what I've gone for here is if I'm playing a game tomorrow and I need to win it against La Liga's best 11 or the best 11 in the world, then I'm not just going to pick people because they've played above their level. I'm going to pick the players that I think is the best 11 at the moment, and that's based on form. I'm not going to pick, I'm not going to pick bloody, I can't think, Mason Mount, who's not really been that great, even though I really rate him. I'm going to go with the best 11 and the best players. And that's why in goal, I've got Alisson. A lot of people are going with Nick Pope. I've heard people mention Dean Henderson. I don't know what they're smoking, but I've heard a lot of people say Nick Pope, and he has been really good, and I think he's conceded the least goals. I think Ramsdale's had a good season. I think De Gea's had a good season. I think Robert Sanchez at Brighton's had a good season. But I've watched a lot of football this year. I've played the game. I've watched a lot of football this season, and Alisson has been superb for Liverpool. Now, I think he's probably the best goalkeeper in the league anyway, and people go, "Oh, you're just picking the best goalkeeper in the league." I'm not. I've watched Liverpool a few times this season, and he's made things not be as bad as they could have been, and they've been pretty bad at times. Yeah, Pope's been very, very good, but if you're asking me to pick my best 11 to go and beat somebody of the season so far, I'm picking Alisson. So the logic is there for me on that one. Yeah, I think Pope's done really well, but it's Alisson for me. Right back, to appease the Newcastle fans, no, seriously, Trippier has been fantastic. There's not a right back that comes close. Maybe Emerson Tom at Spurs. No, I'm joking again. I mean, whoever thought of Dean Henderson? It's like putting Emerson Tom, worst Premier League. No, we're doing this properly. Trippier, right back, definitely. Going forward, he's been brilliant. Defensively, Newcastle have been brilliant as well. Yeah, I mean, look, he's probably England's starting right back for me. I think he's been really, really good, and he's a real positive for England going into the World Cup, because I think this World Cup's going to be about form. But enough about the World Cup. We kick in with that tomorrow. I've got my predictor and loads of stuff, previews, all sorts coming for the World Cup. We're talking Premier League best 11, and Trippier is well worthy of that spot. Right centre-back, easy work. Saliba, what a season Arsenal are having. I think he's a massive part of it. I don't want to take anything away from Gabriel as well. I think he's been decent as well. But Saliba, in his first real run in an Arsenal shirt, he's been likened to Van Dijk and Vidic and all these top centre-backs. He's a centre-back in his own right. And I think the thing that I like about young players when they come into teams and do well, any young player can come in and do well in one game. Consistency. When you come in and you're consistent, they are the players. When I look back at people like Wayne Rooney and Fabregas, these young teenagers that came in Premier League history, they were very, very good players, but they were consistent with it as well. And Saliba's been ridiculously consistent and has been an absolute rock at the back for Arsenal. So 100% he plays as my centre back. This guy, I'm wearing the hoodie. Yes. You can get these on the United Stand Shopify site if you want. You might not be a United fan though. Martinez, yeah. Categorically, Martinez and Saliba are the best two centre-backs in the Premier League this season. And that is remarkable when you think of the likes of Van Dijk, Thiago Silva, Ruben Diaz. There's some brilliant centre-backs. I really want to give a shout out to Botman at Newcastle. I think he's been brilliant as well. But Saliba's been superb for Arsenal. Martinez has been remarkable for Manchester United. I mean, after losing to Brentford and Brighton, we were in real trouble. And the way we got out of that trouble was to build on the back. Varane and Martinez, we hardly conceded any goals, I think, for 5 Premier League games, including games against Liverpool and Arsenal, a couple away games as well. It's been a bit shaky recently, but mainly that's because of Varane. I think 3 games in a row, he had different centre-back partnerships, Varane, Lindelof and Maguire, and yet he has played most games as well. There's a lot of fatigue in that team. So, yeah, Martinez for me. The fact that he's left-footed as well gives you that balance. I mean, it could have been Arsenal's centre-back pairing, Martinez and Saliba. It could have been a reality. It wasn't. Thanks for that. Left-back, I saw some people putting in Burn from Newcastle. I've seen various connotations at left-back. Obviously Zinchenko. For me, this is the easiest one. This is the most easy one. And let's use Burn from Newcastle. He has been fantastic. But if you're picking a team tomorrow, best Premier League 11 on form to go and beat La Liga's best 11, are you going to put Dan Burn there or are you going to put Cancelo there? And this is what I mean. I think some people want to be moral crusaders. It's football. Dan Burn's been brilliant, but he ain't getting in ahead of Cancelo, who's been unbelievable. Look at Fantasy Premier League. Like, he's been brilliant and he's way better than Dan Burn. So we don't need... This is not school sports day where you run the race and everyone gets first prize. There is a winner. It's a competitive sport. Well done, Dan Burn, but Cancelo is considerably better than you and has had a very good season. I don't get the Dan Burn thing. It has to be Cancelo in my mind. So my back five would be Alisson in goal, Trippier, Saliba, Martinez, Cancelo. What a back five that would be. I'll take anyone on with that. Rodri would be my CDM. Very similar to Cancelo. There were some people I thought about. I think Xhaka has been brilliant for Arsenal. Casemiro's been brilliant for Man United, although he came in a little bit later. He has fundamentally changed the way that we have played. There are others that are very good. I don't think Liverpool or Chelsea, really. Spurs, Bentancur has been brilliant for them as well. Look, there are lots of options, but Rodri is a CDM beast. He is probably the best in the world. He is unbelievable at doing the job a CDM does. And people will say Man City have dropped points, but when you look at the points they dropped even against Brentford, I think they had like 4 times the shots. They're creating... It's not his job to put the ball in the back of the net. He's doing the job of, ticking that team along. So it has to be Rodri for me. If we're being real, it has to be Rodri. He's had a very good season. But again, a Newcastle player gets in. Bruno Guimaraes has to be in that team. Probably a little bit more license with Rodri in my team. He would have more license to get forward, which I think he does very, very well. Chelsea want him. Liverpool are looking at him. Pep's looking at him. United are looking at him. Foreign teams are looking at him. He is brilliant. And Newcastle have got the money to keep hold of him. But, are they at that point yet? Are they at the point where Bruno Guimaraes would say, I don't want to go to Liverpool, I don't want to go to Bayern Munich, I don't want to go to Barcelona because I want to stay at Newcastle. Newcastle can give him the money, but has Newcastle got that aura yet? It's going to be very interesting because he is fundamental to Newcastle's success. There are lots of players. We've mentioned Pope and Burn and Botman and Trippier already. There's lots of players doing really well for Newcastle, but games are won and lost in the midfield. If you haven't got a midfield, you're not going to do what Newcastle have done. And Bruno Guimaraes, I mean, look, he is the best Bruno in the league. I've got to admit that, even though I love Bruno Fernandes. Look, he's getting in this team, and we're missing people out like Casemiro, Xhaka, Bernardo Silva, Odegaard. There's people... I've given a bit of a spoiler there, but there's loads of good players missing out, and Bruno Guimaraes 100% deserves to be in there. So well done to him with Rodri and Bruno Guimaraes. And then it's boring, but it's still got to be De Bruyne. I mean, I'd argue that De Bruyne... We did a poll yesterday on the Chelsea-Newcastle watch-along, and Erling Haaland won Player of the Season so far. He's not my player of the season so far, Haaland. He's scored a lot of goals, but what about providing those goals? I mean, some of the balls that De Bruyne has put in this season, I think De Bruyne has been brilliant. I mean, is De Bruyne almost getting to the point now where he gets underrated because he's so good, because he does it so consistently? For me, it was Odegaard or De Bruyne. And every part of me wanted to put Odegaard in. I'm a massive fan of Odegaard. I think as a number 10... he's so good because he's not really a massive risk taker on the ball. He scores, he creates, and he's so careful with the ball. I love Odegaard. De Bruyne is more risk taker, but God, is he good with it. And look, if Arsenal fans are saying it should be Odegaard, I can't even argue. But for me, it still has to be De Bruyne. I think he's been brilliant this season. I really have. So that would be my midfield. Rodri, Bruno Guimaraes, and De Bruyne. Arsenal fans might be getting a bit itchy feet here. They might be going, hold on a minute, we've only got Saliba in this team and we're top of the league and we're doing brilliant. You are, and that is why, for me, you would put Saka off the right-hand side. There'll be a lot of people screaming and shouting about other players. Almiron for Newcastle was probably the one that pushed it close for me. I nearly did go with Almiron, and I would liken this to the goalkeeping situation. Remember, I went with Alisson over Pope because I think Alisson's been really good this season and he's a better goalkeeper than Pope. Again, I think Almiron's been amazing, but I think Saka's been brilliant as well. and I think Saka's better, so I would go with Saka. So you can put Alma on and you can put Pope in, but I'm telling you now, my team's going to beat yours because I've gone with the better player who is also playing really well. And the thing about Saka is that people don't understand is this is not flash in the pan stuff. This is not a potential player. He is a key figure for Arsenal. He is a leader of Arsenal. This happened last season. The reason Arsenal nearly got top four last year was because of people like Saka. He came off the Euros. He'd missed the penalty, got abuse and all sorts, and mentality kicked in. Other players didn't. Other players had bad seasons after the Euros. Many England players did. Saka didn't. As a young man, he took it on his shoulders. He took the responsibility, and he was superb for Arsenal last year. And that has continued. He is absolutely essential for that Arsenal side. He makes things happen. He's so good on the ball. Defenders are scared of him. He can score a goal. He can create a goal. He's got an amazing work ethic. Do not disrespect Saka. He firmly deserves that place in there. And I think, again, like Saliba and Odegaard and a few others and Xhaka, Arsenal are a sum of their parts. They are a sum of their parts. In fact, you could almost say you're not going to have a team of the season full of Arsenal because individually they may be better players at other clubs. But as an actual team, combined, because they've all got to play together, Arsenal would win it, wouldn't they? Left-sided midfield, this may get a bit of controversy. For me, I nearly went with Rashford. I went with Martinelli. Is there a lack of left-sided players that have had a great season so far? I think Rashford's been very good. It was Rashford or Martinelli for me. Son, not had a great start to the season, so you don't need to worry about him. I want to give Salah a shout out as well. I don't think Salah's lost it. I just think Liverpool starts the season's not been as good. So yeah, I was like, I can't really think of a left-sided player that's more worthy than Martinelli. I wanted to go with Rashford, being a Manchester United fan, but again, I think Martinelli has been so important to that Arsenal side, so consistent to that Arsenal side. And then, he's got all aspects to his game as well. He can score a goal, work ethic, which you have to have in that Arteta side, creativity. He's been involved in people being sent off, which is, that just shows his work and he's working for the team. I think Martinelli's had a really good season and maybe doesn't get the credit he deserves. So I would go with Martinelli on the left-hand side. It was close for Rashford, but maybe being a Man United fan, I watch them more than I watch Arsenal, although I have seen a lot of Arsenal. And there's been some down points for Rashford. He was injured a bit as well. So just goes to Martinelli for me. And then obviously up front, there can only be one. It has to be Erling Haaland. It doesn't even matter if Ivan Toney's had a great season, and he has. Callum Wilson's had a good season. Jesus has been good. Even Harry Kane's chipped in with a few goals again. But I mean, this is the robot. This is he's a robotic footballer. You put those balls in the box that De Bruyne has been putting in and others, and he's a penalty box king. He's a 6-yard king. It's got to be Erling Haaland, hasn't it? My manager would be Arteta. I think what he's done at Arsenal is incredible. The fact that they are 5 points clear and will be 5 points clear on Christmas Day of Manchester City is, almost deserves a statue in itself. So it would be Arteta as well. There have been other good managers. And I think it's been a really interesting one to do. And I'd be interested to see what you've got in the comments because there will be differentials. But the great thing about that is that it's not swamped with Liverpool and Man City players, which is what you would expect. We've got a rich tapestry in our 11. And yeah, there are 3 Arsenal players. I believe there are 3 Man City players, 2 Newcastle players. So that's 8. And then you've got Martinez, Man United, Liverpool's Arsenal, and I've got that wrong. So we've got 3 Man... Oh, wait a minute. I've got this wrong. Liverpool, 1. Trippier, Gomes, 2. Arsenal have got 3. Man City have got 1. And then you've got Cancelo, Rodri, De Bruyne, Haaland, 4 Man City players. So yeah, that makes it right. But yeah, there is basically the top 3 have dominated, haven't they? Newcastle, Man City, and Arsenal. But Liverpool have got 1. United have got 1. And I'm sure people will disagree with bits, but ultimately, I think Alisson, Trippier, Saliba, Martinez, Cancelo, Rodri, Bruno Gomes, De Bruyne, Saka, Haaland, Martinelli, that's my team of the season so far, and that's the team I think would beat any other team that anyone wants to put out there because I'm going for players that are in form and the best, And yeah, there are some people that are unlucky, but that's my team. Get your comments in below. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. Don't miss the big drop tomorrow on my channel. You might have seen the spoiler on Twitter. And we've got some good World Cup stuff coming up for you this week as well. So make sure you subscribe and get your notifications on. I'll speak to you on the next one.